Hey everybody, this is Jungle Jenna, and I'm doing my reaction/analysis to The Last Jedi teaser trailer. I am so excited to be doing this video because when I heard on either Wednesday or Thursday that The Last Jedi teaser trailer was going to be coming out on Friday, I was like over the moon happy. And on Friday, I kept checking YouTube to see if the video had been posted yet. I wasn't live streaming it like some other people were. But when I finally saw that the video was up, oh my goodness, like I've seen this teaser trailer about a bajillion times at this point. Um, and when I first watched it, I literally, like, my whole body was just coursing with energy. And it was just, oh my goodness, like, it sent me into an emotional tailspin this whole weekend. So, yeah, I hope that you enjoy my reaction and analysis. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts, opinions, questions, observations, all that good stuff below in the comments section. The trailer opens with some beautifully eerie music and what appears to be an aerial shot of a segment of the island that at first reminded me of the scene in The Force Awakens where, in Rey's Force vision, she encounters Kylo Ren and his Knights of Ren. But then all of a sudden we see Rey's hand appear out of nowhere, and the camera pans up to her, gasping for breath. The wonderful thing about this trailer is that it's actually a teaser trailer. It shows you some information and implies what could potentially be going on, but by the time it's over, you're desperate to learn more about what is actually happening. With the opening of the trailer, my initial reaction or thought was that this movie definitely is going to be darker than the last one, and that we may see her being challenged in the ways of the Force on both the light and the dark side. This scene in particular gave me a sense that she's going to be developing a keen and intimate awareness of who she is in The Last Jedi. The jarring opening of the trailer segues into a very peaceful sequence where we hear Luke's voice in the background telling Rey to breathe, and we see very wide, clear shots of the island. The cinematography in this movie is beautiful and almost has something very raw and natural about it, so I can already tell that this movie will be visually stunning and very well shot. I loved this particular sequence because it felt so relaxing and calming, and it really drew me into the flow of the trailer. It had a very spiritual, natural sort of feel to it. That particular shot of the island with the sun looming on the left-hand side of the horizon reminded me a lot of the shot of the castle in the 2017 version of Beauty and the Beast, with the sun on the left-hand side of the castle seeming to drive away the darkness. For those of you who haven't watched my other videos or are new to my channel, I am a Reylo shipper, and so within the Reylo fandom, we've talked a lot about the how the Reylo dynamic compares a lot to the one in Beauty and the Beast. And the fact that Lucasfilms is now owned by Disney, it just seems coincidental that The Last Jedi and the new version of Beauty and the Beast were produced in the same year. Just like it was coincidental that Strange Magic, which was also produced by Lucasfilms, and The Force Awakens came out the same year, where the romance in Strange Magic was described as a Beauty and the Beast story in which the Beast didn't transform. In terms of the Last Jedi teaser trailer and the context of that particular shot, it's really hard to say whether or not the sun is driving out the darkness, or whether or not, or maybe the opposite, where the darkness is driving out the light. Either way, there's a very interesting play on the concept of the light and the dark in a very natural sort of way. The sequence continues with Rey standing in front of the ocean and the waves crashing on the rocks before her. In the background, we hear Luke's voice continuing to tell Rey to breathe. Every time I watch the trailer, I find myself following Luke's advice and breathing more deeply myself. What is so effective about this particular sequence, and what makes me so excited for The Last Jedi, is that we're witnessing aspects of Rey's training, but instead of just watching, we're actually being drawn into the experience as though we're going through it ourselves. When The Force Awakens first came out, there was speculation on whether Luke would actually agree to teach Rey in the ways of the Force. It was interesting to see confirmation in the trailer that she will be receiving training from him to some degree or another. When it comes around to seeing the movie, I'm really curious as to how she's if she has to go about convincing him to teach her in the Force, or what will prompt him to agree to go along with something like that. Or is it something that she won't have to convince him at all, and it's something that he sees in her and wants to hone those skills? I found this particular shot of Rey standing before the ocean particularly interesting because there is an element of darkness to it, or at least the darker lighting gives a more introspective mood to it. I seriously got chills at this part of the trailer when we see Rey channeling her Force abilities. I'm so looking forward to Rey exploring her powers further and discovering more about who she is, not only about her past, but also for the present and her future. At this point in the trailer, Luke asks Rey what she sees, and she replies with the light. I love that Princess Leia is associated with the light here, and I feel like when it finally comes time to watching The Last Jedi, it's going to be really bittersweet to watch Carrie Fisher in the light of her passing. Rey also sees darkness, which is associated with this object surrounded by broken glass. There's been some debate as to what this object is, and I tend to believe it's Kylo Ren's mask, not only because of the silver detailing, but also because Kylo Ren's theme music cues in at this point in the trailer. What I found especially significant about this shot is that the light side was associated with a person, which was Princess Leia, whereas the dark side is associated with an object as opposed to an individual. Couple this with the fact that they're marketing Kylo Ren without his mask. The implication for this is that they're making a concerted effort to differentiate between the persona of Kylo Ren and the human being of Ben Solo. I won't go so far as to suggest that we're going to see a lighter version of Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, but I do think that they're humanizing him. Sure, you can say that the demolished state of the mask is just there to remind us that it was on Starkiller Base when it was destroyed. But if they really wanted to drive the point home that Kylo Ren is supposed to be the big baddie of this trilogy, then why not just show him with a new mask? To be honest, I have no idea what this is, but it does remind me of some conversations that took place on Tumblr about 6-7 months ago, where there was speculation on whether or not Force-sensitive trees would be a part of The Last Jedi, and this does seem to have a tree-like, I don't know, it looks sort of tree-like. But then I can't tell if there's a platform in the distance with light shining down on it and some Stonehenge-like pillars. I don't know if these are supposed to be books, but either way, there's a really interesting play of the light and the dark, and this manifests throughout the entire trailer. Apparently, through channeling the Force, Rey has seen both the light and the dark, and it's here where she's touching this star-like image where she says the balance. This got me really excited because within the Reylo fandom, people have been talking about the Grey Jedi and how Kylo Ren and Rey represent the balance of the Force, but also how they could signify the end of the Jedi and the beginning of a new generation of Force users. I even saw on Tumblr that there was some official information released where this particular symbol is associated with the Grey Jedi Order. Reflecting back on the commentary I had about the island with the sun seeming to drive out the darkness or the darkness driving out the light, you could say that the light and the dark in that shot were equal, that it was a balance. I didn't notice this particular detail until I went onto Tumblr to briefly check out what other people were saying about the teaser trailer, but there was a discussion where other users were commenting on how the star-shaped image from the last still seems to be a part of the lightsaber Rey is holding in the official poster. And what's even more exciting is that the lightsaber she's holding seems to be a combination of Luke's blue one and Kylo Ren's red one. So keep in mind that the star-shaped image from the last still is meant to represent balance and the Grey Jedi Order. So what even the original poster seems to imply is that there will not necessarily be this light and dark exclusivity, but trying to forge this new path of balance within the Force. And because the blue lightsaber is associated with Rey in the trailer and the red one associated with Kylo Ren, I believe that Kylo Ren and Rey will play an integral part to developing this new generation of Force users. Unfortunately, we don't get to see any of the new cast members in the Last Jedi teaser trailer, but we do get this small glimpse of Finn, who appears to still be unconscious, and he's in a pod of sorts. I'm assuming that he's being transferred to preserve his life because the First Order has wasted no time in retaliating against the Resistance after the destruction of Starkiller Base. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think that there was some discussion on the panel at the Star Wars Celebration event where they did say that the First Order would waste no time in attacking the Resistance. I really like that they are picking up directly where the Force Awakens ended, and it's also leaving a bit of mystery as to the role Finn will play in the next movie. We also get a brief glimpse of Poe and BB-8, where it appears that there is some sort of attack taking place. But I love to see Poe and BB-8, the original BFFs, reunited once again. We also get a glimpse of Captain Phasma, flanked by stormtroopers, looking more badass than ever. And the context of this scene really intrigues me because I'm not sure if this is supposed to be part of a flashback or is taking place in the present tense. I'm assuming that it takes place in the present tense because with the ending of The Force Awakens and the First Order suffering a pretty devastating defeat with Starkiller Base being destroyed, I can imagine that wanting to maintain control of the galaxy, they're going to put that much more effort into crushing out the Resistance and kind of regaining that control. The galaxy will be in more peril than ever before, more or less. The only reason why I thought the last clip might be a part of some sort of flashback is because this shot right here reminded me a lot of the scene in Rey's Force Vision where she sees Luke's hand resting against R2-D2 as there's some sort of temple burning in the background. And here we see what appears to be a Jedi temple burning, and there's R2-D2 in a figure beside R2. The only thing is that in the trailer, this figure doesn't appear to be crouching, but is standing on both feet, and the last time I checked, Luke was not that short. Like with Finn and Poe, we only see Kylo Ren once throughout the teaser trailer, and like with the past two shots, there's a recurring theme of burning in the background. This makes me wonder if this shot of Kylo Ren is part of the same scene, and if so, it would negate the possibility of it belonging to a flashback because of the tiny glimpse we get of his new scar. What would be really interesting if this scene took place earlier in the movie, because not only would we see the First Order retaliating heavily against the Resistance and wreaking havoc on the galaxy, but we would also see Kylo Ren at a point in his development where he's more lost, angry, and volatile than ever. This would be a great setup for his character because then we would see him being challenged in a way that would enable him to explore his humanity. Even though I believe Kylo Ren will undergo some sort of redemption and go back to the light side or be a part of the Grey Jedi Order, I think that we're going to see him get darker before he gets lighter. As a Reylo shipper, I found it interesting that they are kind of hiding or obscuring his face. Even in the Last Jedi official poster, we don't see his scar. I find this significant because as a viewer, we associate his scar with the duel he has with Rey at the end of The Force Awakens. I mean, we already know what he looks like, and we know what his scar looked like when Rey slashed his face. So the fact that they're hiding it here in the teaser trailer, but also in the official poster, they're placing more emphasis and importance to it. So that big reveal, either in the official trailer or in the movie itself, will be like this big moment. It's almost like they're saying that this new scar is an integral part of his identity and who he is now. Which makes a lot of sense if you're looking at it more from a Reylo perspective, because when I was doing the analysis for Kylo Ren's databank profile on the official Star Wars website, Rey played a huge part in his journey throughout The Force Awakens. The second thing I found significant as a Reylo shipper is that this shot of Kylo Ren is placed directly next to Rey's, where she's holding the blue lightsaber, and the way that they're angled, it's like they're facing each other. they're drawing attention to the fact that he represents the dark side and she represents the light, but together they form the balance of the Force. This shot of Rey running with the blue lightsaber comes directly after the one where Kylo Ren is shown holding his red one. And like I said earlier, they're positioned in a way where they're facing each other. So there's an implication of a direct challenge, but also that these two characters are associated with each other and represent both the light and the dark. Couple that with the theme of balance throughout the trailer, and you've got some Grey Jedi Reylo goodness. I am not going to pretend to be unbiased or objective here. I'm gonna live true to my Reylo soul, people. One thing I really hope with The Last Jedi is that the antagonistic aspect of Rey and Kylo Ren's relationship will pan out, because I think it will make their interactions very interesting. It seems like there's this recurring theme throughout Star Wars where the romances always involve two people who are kind of alpha in their personalities, and so when they come together, they initially don't get along because they both have these strong personalities that go up against each other's. But then, because they're so similar, they understand one another and gradually develop this mutual friendship, respect, and admiration. And I definitely see that happening with Rey and Kylo Ren, but I also think it will be really funny to see Rey, who's like a take no shit sort of woman. I mean, come on, look at this image. She's like pissed as hell. Go up against Kylo Ren, who, has kind of this like solo sass and cockiness going on. So I think to have these two characters interact with each other is going to be really entertaining. This last shot of Luke standing at what initially appeared to be the mouth of a cave, but now could be the base of a tree, if we're sensitive trees will be a part of The Last Jedi, this scene gave me chills. Hardcore. Not just because of the music, but also because of Luke's cryptic, "I know one thing for certain, it's that the Jedi must end," or something along those lines. I'm kind of paraphrasing. But still, within the Reylo community for the past year and a half, people have been talking about Grey Jedi, balance. They've been talking about Rey and Kylo Ren as being the balance of the Force and sort of forming this new generation of Force users. And also about the new trilogy making some sort of social commentary on ideological warfare and how these two separate sides believe they're right in their convictions and are battling it out with each other, when maybe if they met in the middle, they could actually get some real work done. But a lot of the speculation has sort of painted Luke as being someone who is so deeply entrenched in the ways of the Jedi that when it comes to Rey's training, that there's a lot of conflict between the two of them. And I think the part that surprised me the most about this trailer was Luke being the one to suggest that the ways of the Jedi are no longer useful to the ways of the Force. But I thought that this was really exciting because, with Luke being the one to say this, it makes me really wonder about his character. What is his mental state? What has he learned from being in exile? What did he learn from the experiences of the Jedi Academy he was building that ultimately failed? I'm so curious to know about who Luke Skywalker has become, and I think that The Last Jedi will add a lot of richness to his character. It was sort of interesting to watch other trailer reactions, because a lot of people they were both surprised and devastated to hear Luke Skywalker saying that the Jedi need to end, and they were wondering about his mental state and whether or not this was just a brief moment of him feeling helpless, where I sort of interpreted his tone as being one of determination, but I do think that it will be interesting to see if his mental state will change throughout The Last Jedi, and whether or not Rey will play some influential role in bringing more hope to his situation. This concludes my reaction and analysis to The Last Jedi teaser trailer. I can't believe I have to wait until December to watch this movie. I am so excited. The hype train is just starting, and I'm hopping aboard with all of the other Star Wars fans. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed my reaction and analysis. Feel free to share your thoughts, comments, additional observations below. I always love to read what other people have to say. I'm hoping that my next video will be a joint podcast. There are several people who have voiced interest in doing a joint podcast type situation, so that's what I'll be focusing on for my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you later.